Aborigines are indigenous people in Australia. Australian Aborigines moved from somewhere in Asia at least 30,000 years ago. Although they have groups around 500 to 600 distinct groups, Aboriginal people possess some unifying links. Among these are strong spiritual beliefs that tie them to the land, a tribal culture of storytelling and art, and, like other indigenous populations, a difficult colonial history. Since the European invasion of Australia in 1788, the Aboriginal people have been oppressed into a world unnatural to their existence for thousands of years. First came the influx of the strangers who carried with them diseases, which decimated the immediate population of the Sydney tribes. It is estimated that over 750,000 Aboriginal people inhabited the island continent in 1788. The colonists were led to believe that the land was terra nullius, which Lieutenant James Cook declared Australia to be in 1770 during his voyage around the coast of Australia. The name Maori originally meant the local people or the original people. Maori was a word which signified local or original, as opposed to the new arrivals, white European settlers. Early settlement. Ancestors of Maori arrived on canoes from Pacific Islands before 1300 AD. Settling first on the coast, they hunted seals and mouse. Then they also began to grow food, and some moved to the forest. They lived in small tribal groups with a rich culture of spoken stories and strong traditions of warfare. Their ancestors and the gods of the natural world were very important. Europeans arrived. The arrival of Europeans from the early 1800s had a major effect on these early communities. Among the newcomers were missionaries, and many Maori became Christians. They learned to read and began trading, especially in pigs and potatoes. In 1840, the Treaty of Waitangi established British law and government, but it could not prevent warfare in the 1840s and 1860s as Maori sought to defend their lands and local authority. After the wars, Maori lost land through confiscations and sale, mostly to British settlers.
In 1840, New Zealand Maori were given rights as British subjects in their lands, and other property rights were recognized with the signing of the Treaty of Waitangi. Until a High Court decision in 1992, Australian Aboriginals were afforded no land rights because Australia was declared terra nullius, or we can say that land belonging to no one. At the time of the European settlement in 1888, it took until 1967 for Australian Aboriginals to be counted in the national census and given the right to vote by changing S51 and S127 of the Australian Constitutional. So while New Zealand Maori have full and equal citizenship in their country in the 1840, the Australian Aboriginal need to wait a further 127 years to be granted the same status. This fact alone explains why the New Zealand Maori has been far better treated than the Australian Aboriginals.
They were both discriminated. Both the Aboriginals and the Maori people were treated poorly in early years, and some still face discrimination today. When European settlers arrived in Australia, they wanted to eliminate the Aboriginal race. They looked down upon half-castes and attempted to raise them to be servants, as seen in rabbit-proof fence. Similarly, when the Maori moved to New Zealand cities to seek out work, education, and adventure, they struggled to achieve their goals as a result of discrimination from European New Zealanders. They were often overrepresented in employment, hospitals, and prisons. Despite their struggles, the Maori stood up for their rights. Both indigenous people have a strong spiritual belief. Both groups place a strong emphasis on spirituality, nature, and their ancestors. Aboriginals believe in the power of oral tradition and storytelling from one generation to the next. Similarly, ancestors of the Maori speak through taonga to pass down values and beliefs. The power of taonga is reinforced by stories about its origin and history. Differences. They have different origin. While Maori are believed to came to New Zealand from Polynesian island in the Pacific on their great wagas, the Aborigines are believed to came from Asian country before ended up in Australia. 2. They have different belief of their origin. The Aborigines did not know the origin of their own ancestor. They believed that they came to the world as a product of the sun's life-giving power, while Maori believed that they came to New Zealand on boat. 3. They have different belief. Aboriginal culture, deities don't have one role, but rather fulfill a variety of roles, and are categorized as creation beings, ancestral beings, and totemic beings. Maoris, on the other hand, believe all natural elements and living things are connected by a common genealogy. Maori folklore describes the creation of mankind from the violent separation of the original couple. Their puberty ritual, Maori Moko ritual, is to give the man or women that is come to age their first tattoo. But Aboriginal walkabout ritual is to send out only male adolescents to go on a walkabout across the vast land aimlessly with only the purpose to connect to the spirit and can last up to 6 months.
Present. Aborigines. Recent government statistics counted the remaining approximately 400,000 of Aboriginal people, or about 2% of Australia's total population. Land rights movement. As a result of forced assimilation, by the late 1880s, most Aborigines had joined white rural and urban communities. Aboriginal people became economically marginalized and were exposed to new disease. The consequence was massive depopulation and extinction for some Aboriginal tribes. Land and property rights fueled an important civil rights movement in the 1970s. Aborigines spoke out for equal rights and specifically for land rights for property that has been forcibly taken by British. The Aboriginal Land Rights Act, passed in the 1976, became instrumental in territories with tribal association. The 1990s witnesses further rights milestones, including government legislation that returned a great degree of autonomy and increased wages and welfare benefits to the Aboriginal people.
I'm Aboriginal and I love my culture.
My culture is alive everywhere I go.
And I wouldn't have it any other way.
And I would not have it any other way.
Maori. Today, only 9.2% of the New Zealand population are Maori, and 95% of them live in the Northern Island. Maori tourism is a growing industry throughout New Zealand, with large influences in the North Island. In Rotorua, you can visit a unique Maori village and try Maori food, or kai, cooked underground on hot stones, known as hangi. You can watch traditional dances, visit local Maori, and much more. The number of Maori population is increasing and their culture is being brought back. Today, Maori songs, dance, traditional carving, and the Maori language are being taught in the New Zealand schools. The Maori language is an official language like English today, but only a few Maori that master the Maori language as a first language today. It has been also improvement in the Maori legal and social status in the past year. In 1975, they got back a lot of the rights they were formerly promised in the 1840, and in 1985, a number of Maori tribes received a financial reparation for having unfairly lost their lands after pressure by the Maori elders. In 1995, the New Zealand government offered to establish a $1 billion New Zealand dollar fund up to make for the loss of the lands, but it was rejected. And accused of being poorly, it provoked many young Maori elites to threat on trampling of New Zealand flag. In 1996, the government took a big step and apologized to a Maori tribe for taking their lands, and for hanging their chief for 131 years earlier. The Maori are also known as a very talented and hard-working people. They are the best teachers, the best farmers, and also the best mechanics. Many white from New Zealand claims to have more Maori blood than they actually have. But the Maori still have problems with the racial discrimination within the system and among the people. The Maori situations have been improved, but there is a still big difference in culture and there can always cause conflicts.